Hello, this is Gabriel, and I'm joined with
The Woman's Robot. How are you?
pretty good. Today we are discussing the philosophy of stupid.
What is stupid?
I think we could probably break it down into processing badly.
Yeah. Like, maybe like processing things in a way in which do not achieve the predicted result.
Or in a way that achieves a predicted result, but in a way that you don't want.
That would be
Because if you're capable of listening to this, you have processes.
of course.
You'll probably be thinking of them as how you think about stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's conscious as well as unconscious. Yeah.
Yeah, there would be a lot of unconscious processes that you are not aware of.
Yeah. So today I'd like to narrow down why it's important to not only not be stupid, but accept that you are.
Yeah, it's probably like a good overarching philosophy, and that sounds like a joke, but it actually isn't.
Yeah.
Because in truth, you don't actually know what your processes do. I know that you might think you do, or it might seem intuitive to actually think that you know what your processes are doing, but you probably don't.
Yeah, you probably can with practice.
Oh yeah,
But to a relative degree.
Speaking innately.
To a relative degree.
Yeah.
And if you want proof of this, then consciously change your body temperature.
Yeah.
If you want proof, some of you will be at 1% maybe. Will have that level of
self-control.
Yeah, but most of you won't.
Yeah.
Because you've never practiced.
Exactly.
And that's no different to your regular thought processes.
No, it's not.
Yeah. So, and when it comes to processing things incorrectly, the human mind is fundamentally bad at it. Not as bad as other creatures, but still pretty bad.
Like bad at processing things incorrectly, or?
Processing things correctly.
All right. I was going to say, I think things would be a lot better than they currently are if that was the case.
Well, I mean, that's a good example of the point, right?
Yeah.
I said the wrong thing. I didn't realize.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty normal. I might say the wrong thing and just continue on as though I have said the right thing, and I will probably change my memories as though I have said it, because I am probably unaware of other processes that actually do that.
Yeah, or you're just not aware of saying it, like I did.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
but also saying that there are different ways in order to get the same thing. No one has the exact same set of processes in order to achieve similar results.
That's true, yeah. They're just close enough so we can communicate.
Yeah.
Yeah. With similar overarching tendencies. Because we're the same species.
Yeah. So, I guess we'll start with why you should think you're stupid.
Yeah, let's start off with that. Because it may sound anti-intuitive, and I'm sure many people have told you that you're not, and they're only saying that because they are. And that's not even, I mean, it is an insult, but it
No, that's why
you shouldn't take it like one.
No.
Yeah.
Because I don't think people don't really want to think as though that they are stupid or feel as though they're stupid.
Yeah. And you also shouldn't invent criteria for yourself that make that true.
Oh, yeah, no, don't do that.
Don't do a
self-fulfilling
180 prophecy. Yeah, don't try to do that.
No.
Yeah. It's more like think of it as the eternal challenge. Or maybe a way to improve your standing within any system you engage with.
Yeah.
Whether that be family life, society, or even yourself. The way
just
that you relate to
personal
yourself.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they're all you playing within systems.
Yeah. And your systems playing on each other as well.
Yeah. So you have to... you don't have to. You definitely should, though. You definitely should accept the premise that there is large segments of information that you don't know about.
But you're still utilizing regardless.
Yeah, that's true as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you don't know about it to such a fundamental degree that you think it's simple.
Okay, that might require some explaining.
Okay. For example, if you get your phone out, you're like, this works like this, and you most likely only know a very small amount of information in regards to how it actually works.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is true with most things you engage with, unless you're an expert.
Well, yeah, like the person who made the phone probably has a much better understanding, obviously, of how it works.
Yeah.
Um,
But I would doubt a lot they'd have an understanding of every piece that went into it.
yeah.
Like, for example, the economic system that went into getting the rare earths out of China.
That's true.
That would be it. Because that would relate to like the way the Chinese political party is set up. And so there's all these interwoven systems, and they're not obvious as to how they work. I'm pretty sure the rare earths are coming from other countries, but they're built in China. Actually, I didn't know that. I thought they came from China.
I know we mine out minerals and we send them to China, living in the what is a post-apocalyptic wasteland called Australia.
Okay.
But yeah, so, and look, I'm not going to double down on that. Like, I think there might be other factors playing. There might be rare-earths in China that I don't know about.
Well, I'm trying to demonstrate the profound ignorance of most people.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even when you're an expert at a thing, you don't know the related topics.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like you might know like how to make the thing, or like why the thing does work in a certain way, but maybe not even how all the pieces got there, as you were saying before.
Yeah. And if you understand the system properly, you know it's unbelievably complicated, like way more than you would expect it to be going in.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a general recurring theme in at least my life.
Well, I mean, it does make sense because of like there'll be just in one system, they're not like standalone. At least, probably not most of them.
Yeah.
There's like a lot of like systems that connect to other parts of a system that connect to other parts of a system, and they're probably like they might be of a similar complexity or more, and there might be more factors branching off of there as well. So it will become infinitely more complex the more you were trying to understand how a system functions.
Yeah.
Like that is why that would make sense.
Yeah.
Like with the phone example. Another good example would just be being alive.
Yeah.
What does that even mean?
I guess it would mean that
because there is a scientific definition.
It's like you continue functioning, right?
Yeah, and then I guess like viruses are alive.
Yeah, sure. But that also means computers, though.
That's true.
Like by the same definition.
Yeah, or so. Just like it's continually functioning in a way. So I guess just anything kind of moving a bit means like
maybe
atoms.
Maybe functioning with the purpose of continue functioning.
Okay, but then you would have to like how would you get to purpose? And then what would that be?
I guess it would just be like self-perpetuating. Like is attempting to self-perpetuate. So it will actively avoid things it understands to be dangerous.
Okay, but then it would have to have a way of comprehending it, and then
yeah.
So
it would as a consequence of that it would need some kind of like a I guess sensory equipment.
Okay, yeah.
Like equipment to sense things.
Like some form of a feedback.
Yeah.
Which that could be like quite vague as well, because it's just any form of a feedback.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure certain programs would fall under that criteria.
Yeah, just like an AI chatbot fall under like Cleverbot. There we go. Falls under that criteria.
I'm not sure if it's trying to self-perpetuate, but you could probably design an AI too.
Well, I mean, self-perpetuating would just have to be, it would repeat itself or repeating a similar pattern.
Like attempting to avoid danger would be the thing.
Attempting to avoid danger.
Yeah.
Then danger would have to be like some sort of classification.
Yeah, that's true. It would have to learn what that is.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's always going to be a relative thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. So
like the only way that you could classify technically is like has has the ability to classify what it perceives as dangerous.
Yeah. And then some way of measuring that as well. Like
Yeah.
to assess that it has done the thing, to know that it is like under those classifications, you would need a way to measure the thing itself.
Yeah.
And that's already getting into another kind of system. Like, this is a good example of a conversation where, like, the amount of systems that we've referenced have way more complexity than we have even begun to reference.
Yeah, and all we've done is try to figure out the base principle.
Yeah. It's like, what is alive?
Yeah, and it's if you ask anybody that, they're gonna be like, I don't know, like, you just know you're alive, man.
It's like, man, it's a thing. It's here.
And that's mostly fine, to be fair.
Oh yeah.
Like the concept of like high resolution and low resolution understandings comes into place here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, for the purposes of understanding how stuff works, you need a high resolution comprehension, which means you understand all the intricate details.
Yeah.
As opposed to a low resolution understanding, which is like people are alive, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's not as obvious as it might think.
No, because it's like, I know that because there is a scientific definition, and it is worth mentioning. I think it has something to do with, and this is a low resolution understanding of that definition, obviously. But I think it's like, will perpetuate itself, maintains homeostasis, as well as some other things. I know viruses technically don't come underneath that classification.
Yeah, but it's a little silly saying that viruses aren't alive. Because they do. Because they act like they
do
are.
all the things.
Yeah.
It's
But by that definition, it's vague. Right?
Yeah.
And because...
But I think that's the point we're kind of making.
Yeah.
Is that there's a lot of intricate systems involved in that. And like, sure, that definition probably works completely fine for what it is used for.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
But it does mean that like there is that issue. It's like we're seeing viruses as not being alive because they just don't do the homeostasis thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, they don't. Yeah, they don't. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess the first principle is understand that most of what you understand about things is a low resolution understanding.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily wrong, but it will often lead to bad decision making.
Well, it would have a lot of like decisions that were okay along with decisions that were not.
Yeah.
So like with every like low resolution understanding of something, it would just have like a mixture of things.
Yeah.
And obviously the higher the resolution, being the more precise your understanding has become, the more refined your decisions can become as a consequence.
It's also true that the higher the resolution gets, the less relatable it gets to most people.
That yeah.
So that has a way of separating you from the mainstream. Yeah, because people have a such bad understanding of stuff. They don't know that their understanding is bad.
Yeah.
Right. So
I think there's an effect that's about that.
the Dunning-Kruger effect.
Yeah, the Dunning-Kruger effect. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's an extreme examples.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of like the average person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where like they might know something well enough, like in a high enough resolution for them to not make any major perceived mistakes.
Yeah.
But they're not going to have a high enough resolution for like all of the decisions that they could possibly make with that process to be I guess accurate in this case.
Yeah. So I guess that's what one of the main things I wanted to touch on is that you have to understand that most of your understandings are low resolution and that you don't understand them properly, but you can if you go into details.
That's true. It's like it's not like you can't try. You can.
Yeah, it will take relative degrees of effort depending on who you are. Yeah.
This is probably worth saying, but this is definitely like we did mention that this is also about yourself.
Yeah. All of these things relate to yourself as well.
And this is all of the things that you think you know about yourself.
Yeah.
Even that.
Yeah.
Like that statement in and of itself.
Yeah.
That applies to that as well. It's all of it. There's nothing that would be separate from this.
Yeah. The second thing I'd like to talk about is you don't know what people mean most of the time.
No, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's not obvious.
No, because you're using the same language.
Yeah. The language that you use is like, I mean, you're probably capable of understanding English if you're listening to this. Right. But
you know, that might not be true, because we've on the other channels, we've gotten some listeners from like Hungary.
I wonder
not that they don't speak English in Hungary, some of them.
I'm pretty sure that like in Australia where we are, we have a really bad learning other people's language system. But in other countries it's much better.
Oh.
So it's because it's because we have our resources and then they're like focused on other things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that sort of thing.
So it's
to be expected in Australia's current circumstances.
Yeah, so it's not really the general's priority.
No.
Anyway.
So I think the argument, like, this is the argument that I would propose against your statement.
Yeah.
I would go, okay, look, so we've got the same language, right?
Yeah.
All the words have definitions.
Yeah, they do. But they're not shared. At least, like they are in a low resolution way.
How would you argue that they're not shared? And this is ignoring the obvious argument that the definitions are using the same language as a way to describe the thing in a way that isn't necessarily the most precise, because that kind of precision is very difficult.
Yeah, so there's a couple of elements to that.
Yeah.
The first one being is there's multiple definitions to the same words on average.
Yes, there is.
Yeah. The second one is people do not stick to the definitions very precisely, even though they're there.
If you want evidence for that, words changing over time, over the course of history, is a perfect example. Like, gay, for example, has changed its definition and meaning.
Yeah, like it used to mean jolly.
Yeah.
Or an equivalent word.
Yeah.
And now it means something completely different.
Yeah. So, like, that's a very perfect example. Like an easy one that's in like the...
Like, most people know that that's true. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So,
But language changes all the time, right?
Yeah.
And people's understanding of it is also slightly different. It's just close enough that we can talk to each other.
I guess, like, talking about, like, the very obvious argument is people do not assimilate the dictionary into their minds.
Yeah, that's true.
In a very precise and specific way, because no one's done that. People have probably learned it through just talking to other people, like just communicating with each other and figuring out about what they would approximately mean through trial and error.
Yeah, that's the average. You have to be weird to read the dictionary.
Yeah, I think I've met one person who's done it, and I'm willing to bet you money that they haven't assimilated its, like, technical definitions.
Even if you do that, then I've seen people do, and they can't communicate after that.
No, because no one else is doing the same thing. They're basically speaking another language.
Yeah.
If you want, like, a very easy way to get the experience of what we're trying to communicate, actually just listen to some foreign television. You won't know what they're on about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even in things that people should take very seriously, like politics. Well, I guess they take them seriously, but they don't understand what they're talking about. So it's like serious but low resolution understandings leads to bad things happening on average.
Yeah. I guess politics is a good example, actually.
Yeah. But people will reference the same word but have a different comprehension of it.
Exactly.
And it's really annoying to watch if you're me. And probably you, dear listener.
Yeah. I mean, although to a degree it kind of is mandatory.
Yeah, it is.
And I mean that as in, like, it has to occur because you can't literally have the same shared definitions. Maybe you can get an idea of what each other are meaning, but...
Yeah, so what you should do, and this is a way to stop yourself being as stupid, is by trying to understand what they mean by those words.
Yeah.
Understanding how they've defined them, so you can relate on the same level.
Yeah,
You can also debate how valid their definitions are.
that's true.
For example, if I were to define coffee as a frozen substance that is unbreakable.
I guess we haven't found it.
It's like that's not a good definition
No.
for the thing that you drink every morning.
Yeah, so
doesn't have those qualities to it.
you get so annoyed every time you'd walk into like a coffee shop because they never sell what's written on like the sign.
Yeah,
Just always lying to me.
the septia. Anyway,
But what I just did then is a good example of what to avoid. Like, it's a very extreme example, but it's, if you don't want to be stupid, you want to avoid thinking as though other people have your definitions.
yeah, because they won't.
Yeah, exactly.
So you have to, especially when it comes to serious things. It's because in everyday conversation, that doesn't matter.
It matters a lot less.
Doesn't matter properly.
No.
Like if you're talking about the weather or how much you hated Game of Thrones,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. It's fine. Whatever.
Yeah, someone might say they hate it, and someone might say the same thing, but they mean it in a much more visceral manner.
Yeah. Like I hated it more than you. And then you might be like, yeah, I get what you're talking about.
We have the same feelings. Like, no, you don't.
That didn't make any sense. It's like, no, I hate it for like spiritual reasons. Anyway.
But that's a good example. Like, those are extreme examples, but that's happening all the time, but in more minor ways.
Yeah. So there's all this slight miscommunication, which is mostly fine. But when it comes to serious things, it's not fine anymore.
No, because it has a lot of, like, effects down the line, or even immediate effects that will be problematic, especially if you're organizing something.
Yeah.
Like, in general, miscommunication is bad if you're trying to act in a way where
Like if
you
you're
are cohesive.
if you're trying to be responsible, then
Yeah.
you need to figure out what other people mean by shit.
That's true.
Or what even you mean by shit. Because you might not know.
Yeah?
Yeah. Like you, the listener, or me, the person, might
Yeah.
not know what they mean by stuff, even though I say it frequently.
Exactly. Like, I would say pick a word. Just one word that you use and think about what do you actually mean by that? What does that mean?
Yeah, and make sure it's an important word.
Yeah.
And I mean important in like either a personal way, like what responsibility means to you,
Yeah.
or in more of a maybe a philosophical sense, like what truth means, or maybe a political sense, like what equity means.
Yeah.
Right? These are all important things to figure out.
Yeah.
And if you're just going by like what you've heard people say, you won't know what that means.
That's true.
Unless they've defined it and you've like accepted their definition. But
Yeah.
most people don't, so that you couldn't have done that.
Well, that's actually an unusual kind of conversation to have.
Yeah, it is.
Like, that's not what office chatter is like.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean this specific thing when I say this specific word.
It's like, I'd really like you to define what sexism is, please.
I was like, oh, okay. It is where you are treating people in a different way based off of their genitalia in a way that would be considered unfair. It might be, perhaps. That's not my fucking definition.
I mean, that's pretty much the same as mine, right?
Yeah, I think it can be better.
Like treating people...
Because that same pattern could be racism.
Yeah. Well,
'Cause you can-
it does seem like the same thing, just it's like switching out.
Like a different topic.
I guess it's switching out things that the person can't change, at least not without extreme effort, or
Yeah.
or technically can't change if you want to go through the
chromosomes.
yeah
Yeah.
like you actually just can't change that.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking it's because if I were to say that was sexism, it would be like, well, then what does fair mean, for example? And then like, what does it mean to treat someone like a thing? Well,
Yeah,
what does
'cause-
that mean?
Yeah,
Or like,
it's like don't treat me like a girl. It's like how what does that mean?
yeah, what is that?
Like how do I treat girls? It's different from men because I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I guess I date girls. Like that's a pretty large difference.
Yeah, but you don't date all girls.
Yeah, but I only date like one girl. And
Yeah.
then, so pretty much it's like 99%. No, wait, that's
Way too
yeah, that's way too many. Like one out of how many girls?
Yeah.
In-
One out of all of them.
yeah, in the planet.
Yeah.
So I treat them like how I treat anyone else.
Yeah.
But then that's not technically accurate.
No, because
I know that I am more aggressive to men because they're less offended on average.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, wait, I'm more aggressive to men. Is that what I forgot.
You did
what I
say
said.
that.
Yeah,
You did
okay.
say that. You're
I tricked myself. Yeah, and because on average men will like be less intimidated,
Yeah.
right? And I don't want to upset people unnecessarily.
Exactly.
So I'll be more ranty, for example.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And like I'll do like a similar thing.
Yeah. Or like if I'm walking at night and I see a girl, I'll probably cross the road to not come across as intimidating. Right? I probably wouldn't do that if I was a guy. I just wouldn't care as much because I'm like, you probably like feel cocky about it. It's fine.
Yeah.
but I don't think as much that you're afraid of me, even though you statistically should be more afraid.
Yeah, because of the amount of
Yeah. So,
I mean, yeah.
So it's like, what is the actual differences? Because like I can't put my finger on it. I can talk about like actions that are different, but I can't actually come up with like an overarching thing of what that would actually mean. Because I don't know properly.
Yeah.
Like there's probably a bunch of unconscious criteria that I'm not actually aware of.
Yeah, that you're utilizing in a way to act.
Yeah, and that would not only relate to women but relate to people.
Yeah, it's just people in
Like
general.
like I'll treat different guys differently.
Oh, yeah, that would have to be true.
Yeah.
Because if you were to treat literally everyone literally the same, that would be impossible because they have different characteristics, and as a consequence, treating them all the same wouldn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Like, if you just like picked a arbitrary way, let's say, it's like, maybe you'll like, I don't know, you'll like slap them on the back, right? Because you would do that with your friends,
it's
right?
appropriate with some friends.
Yeah, and then you just like generalize that to the population, get into an immense amount of fights.
Yeah, or okay, so with you, I am very pedantic about what you mean by stuff.
Yeah, good.
And then you're also very pedantic by like when I say stuff. You make me clarify it. Yeah, and that's fine with us.
Yeah, that works really well.
It does not work with my parents. They just get upset with me. Or actually, most people I've come across.
Well, I think that amount of pedanticism and trying to get as specific as you can about what you're trying to get across, and what you're trying to communicate, is not for everyone.
Yeah.
So, like, these are obviously not rules.
Yeah, it's not for
to
everybody.
engage with the general populace.
It's not for everybody, but it is very important.
It's really important of yourself.
Yeah, and I would say it's a moral criteria to define these things yourself and to make them make as much sense as possible if they're serious.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter as much with everyday things.
Like, you know, like, let's say like what kind of food you like.
Yeah, that doesn't matter to nearly the same extent.
It matters if it's like sand.
Yeah, it's probably that's lead to health implications.
Yeah.
That are probably negative.
So like that's why it's important.
Yeah, but you don't need a high resolution understanding of like how shit works to know that probably isn't going to be
No,
bad.
it's like, so I understand the exact chemical and mineral composition of the sand. That's which is why I won't eat it. It's like no, just don't eat sand.
Yeah.
As like a meta comment, like that conversation we had was a really good example of how we were trying to get a high definition understanding of what we were trying to communicate. But even then, all of the things we were saying, we could go further.
Oh yeah.
Like, and in fact, like if it was something proper,
we could probably extend that topic for like a couple of hours.
Yeah.
It's just not on the theme of what we're talking about today.
No. It's
Which
just
is
like
that you
a
should be
good
less
example.
stupid.
Yes, yeah. But it's like these examples as a meta comment, like examples of how you would kind of have to think in order to start tending towards this result.
Yeah. Well,
And I don't mean like precisely. Like there would be some variability, probably heaps of improvements you could make of the examples we just gave.
Yeah. It's also good to learn from other people. Because if somebody has given a particular topic enough thought, then you can pretty much copy them, and you'll have a way higher resolution understanding of what you would come up with. Because let's say if they've dedicated like 20 years, right, to understanding a thing, right, then their understanding is going to be very specific, and you can copy a lot of it.
Yeah,
that's a good thing to do.
No, that's true.
Yeah, don't go down like the new age path of like just pretending that you understand shit. Or
I think that's what we're literally warning against.
Yeah.
Like, I'm pretty sure the whole "don't be stupid" premise, or like accepting that you basically are stupid.
Yeah, like everyone is stupid.
Yeah, us, everyone.
Yeah,
there is like no exception.
Yeah,
and that's the opposite of the new age movement, which is
everyone's love or whatever. Yeah,
everyone's one, everyone's love, everyone knows things. They're just fucking pretending that they don't for some stupid reason. Okay, I'm already getting pissed off.
Yeah. I guess the other thing I'd like to talk about.
Yeah.
Because unless you feel like that needs more clarification. What do you think?
Well,
that we speak the same technical language, but we're not communicating to each other properly. But we can if we define things.
You can communicate. Okay, I think probably what I would say is you could communicate in a higher resolution way.
Yeah, when it comes to important things.
But this, like, consider for a moment that this scale is fucking infinite.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
it's like and when you break it down to enough, it will surpass language. It will get down to like specific arrangements of like information between both parties. And you could extend this pattern kind of as small as beyond conceivable at this point. That sounds... I'm trying to get across those words the extreme like amount of precision you could technically get to.
Yeah.
But that would be kind of pointless.
Oh, at a certain point... Well, I guess the base principles would be like breaking things down into binary states. Right?
Yeah.
It's like on or off switches, but for how people think.
Yeah.
Then figuring out the hierarchy of those switches.
Yeah.
To be technical.
Yeah.
And you probably don't need to get to that far down. It needs to be high resolution enough so you know how to act when it relates to behaviors.
Yeah.
And that's probably where you can stop.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
It's basically the amount of precision you would need for each situation is obviously going to vary.
Yeah. So
but the more important it is, the more precise you would have to be, which means that by precision, I mean like the smaller the actual information is.
Yeah.
As in by size, I'm referring to the probably the amount of binary states that would be in there.
Yeah. So
like let's say very specific definitions of words, and then the definitions of those words that you're using for the definition, for example.
Yeah. So for example, if somebody calls you sexist,
right,
and like you should have a high enough resolution understanding of what you understand that to be to be able to judge what they mean by that.
Yeah.
So let's say if I'm like, you are sexist because you liked the Joker.
Right. So for that to be true, I would have to be treating women differently in a way that was where the patterns that were like arbitrary were like sorry, let me restart that. So for that to be true, I would have to be treating women in a way that would be unfair because of a film that I watched, and then that would be the indicator that I engage in that behavior.
Yeah, well, it's because the film like is a part of the patriarchy.
So then that would have to mean as well that by watching like a piece of media, you were thereby like vicariously involved with a conceptual patriarchy that currently doesn't exist because a patriarchy would have to be like a king, which is what a patriarchy is.
It would have to,
And unless they mean something different by the word patriarchy, but then I would have to clarify that definition.
Yeah.
It becomes a very different conversation really quickly.
Yeah. And I know that someone that says that is unlikely to actually engage in that conversation.
I mean, yeah, if you've ever been called sexist and you want, like I would like to get into the intricate details as to what you actually mean by these words.
Yeah, they typically just can't respond properly.
No.
But that means that they don't have a high resolution understanding. Right?
Which
just means that they're acting in a silly way.
Because they don't have an understanding of the words that they're using.
Yeah. Yeah. But you see then like how I accused him of a moral failing, and then just like it didn't make any actual sense because of how he broke it down.
Yeah.
But then if you don't understand the
I said like that was someone else.
If you don't have a good enough understanding of how things are defined, you won't know if that's true or not.
Yeah.
And I've seen people do this where they get accused of something and they don't know if it's true or not. And so they go into like a spiral of doubt. But that's the worst time to, right?
Yeah. Because like, if like they might not have thought about before, and then as a consequence, they're like, oh, if I am this, if my behavior equals like asexism, the behavior might not be completely unrelated, but because they have a low resolution understanding of what the words mean, they're not going to know that, and they will act accordingly. Yeah,
so they might get into like a spiral of being unsure by themselves and like feeling guilty unnecessarily.
Yeah,
because they haven't defined it properly.
Because they were just at that point have defined it as just a bad thing.
Yeah, as opposed to having a high resolution understanding and just being like, but this would have to mean these other things, or you've defined it in such a way that it encapsulates society. So you are a sexism as well.
Yeah, because you're vicariously through engaging in society.
Yeah, which is what my critique would have
had to have equaled.
Yeah, because like you consume things that has produced my males, therefore you are sexist, right? Which is everybody, by the way.
was that the rule?
Well, it would have to equal that if you took it to its conclusion.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it would just have to. if you took it to its conclusion.
That's a good example, actually, of because I didn't know exactly what specific rules you were using for the sexism.
Well, it's like
I mean, I didn't technically know what you meant.
Well, it's like if films are the patriarchy, then like films are funded by like businessmen in Hollywood.
Yeah.
So
I guess if the patriarchy is just like a hierarchy with a man on top.
It's just like a hierarchy that has men in it, right? Which is how it is typically defined.
Oh, okay. So
which I would argue is a bad definition.
Because I was going to say, can you have like a queen, but then it's a patriarchy?
It'd be a matriarchy.
Well, that's why I said that's why I asked that, because you said it was a hierarchy with men in it.
Like men at the top.
Okay.
Yeah. which because men are more likely to be outliers on both sides, they're more likely to be CEOs. Right? But on both sides means they're also more likely to be homeless, or crazy. This is bad as well.
Yeah, the amount of homeless men you will find will probably outweigh the amount of homeless women you're probably going to find.
Yeah.
Now, I say that with a very low understanding of the statistics of homelessness.
Yeah.
So I'm saying that with I guess also like an addendum to like, I do not have exactly precise information on this topic.
Oh, like most failure states are achieved by men. Like in society.
Yeah.
Right, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
it's just kind of funny.
Well, the way I think about it is like it's like women will like deviate less from the standard. So there'll be some crazy women and some like hyper successful women.
Yeah.
But they'll deviate less from the standard, and so more of them are more safe more often.
Yeah, so if you were to break it up into two actual separate groups, there would be less deviation in one group than there would be from the other.
Yeah, and then in the group of men, they deviate more in both directions.
Yeah.
But because it's like very actually difficult to be hyper successful, because you're playing out a pattern that other people haven't,
Yeah.
You don't need, the people that are doing it don't even know what it is necessarily. Because
No.
they're not aware of their unconscious either.
Yeah, it's like, it's not as though there's like a select group of people who are like, no, yeah, man, I understand.
Yeah.
If someone's saying that, they're a fucking idiot.
Like, I bet somebody like Elon Musk doesn't really understand his unconscious processes in a high resolution way. Because he's been
probably not.
focusing on making rockets instead.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not that he couldn't, just that he
No,
hasn't.
it's not like
Because
success doesn't equal that you
because
have a high resolution understanding.
Yeah, because there's like opportunity. Well, like he would in regards to making rockets.
Oh yeah, in some
running,
subjects.
and running Tesla. He'd have an incredibly high resolution in those areas.
Oh yeah, you would expect because he's at the forefront of this field.
Yeah, and
It's just not across the board.
yeah,
It's like it is very much topic specific.
yeah,
You can have a really high resolution understanding of one particular word
yeah. You could
and
yeah.
know absolutely nothing about anything else.
Yeah, just like know some Russian word, for example.
Yeah, but in as to like all of its etymology,
Yeah, yeah.
and like the base, like where it's like came from, like past that point.
Yeah, yeah, but it sways more extreme in both directions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But where are we going with that?
Oh wait, what were we talking? We're talking about like.
Can I go on a tangent?
Yeah, we're on a tangent. But there is a. So yeah, that's right. The like most people have a low resolution understanding of things.
Yeah.
And you can get it to be higher, but it takes effort.
Yeah.
But you have to learn how to understand what other people mean by stuff
That's true.
to be able to engage in that kind of area.
In a way that is at least close to what each other are meaning.
Yeah. And so when it comes to politics or like politics relationship and philosophy, which is how you should conduct yourself.
Yeah.
You need to do that.
Well, yeah, because it's in regards to more important subjects that will have a more larger impact over time, as well as the amount of people it will impact.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah.
Is there anything else that we should touch on about the topic of like how to not be stupid?
Well, I think like, and I'm going to leave this bit in.
Yeah.
I think not being stupid in and of itself is quite a broad thing where like, I guess like if you were to break it down into like segments, it'd be like your methods of which you process information and then like your base assumptions about the information you're processing.
Yeah.
So it's like maybe like a good assumption is like you don't, like we've kind of gone over that. You don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
What you're thinking, what you mean,
Yeah.
what anyone else is thinking, what any of they, that they don't know what they mean either. So it's like that pattern of like, you don't know the pieces that you're using. Maybe that's a good way to describe it.
Yeah. And that's unescapable, but it is treatable.
Yeah. It's like you can mitigate errors.
Yeah.
It's like you can't eliminate this.
Yeah. Oh, another thing I'd like to touch on is be careful about what your assumptions are in relation to topics.
Actually, yeah, like assumptions, I wrote like a meta comment on assumptions. I made assumptions about what you meant about the sexism comment and then based my argument and retort off of that.
Yeah, which is actually appropriate.
It was appropriate at the time.
Yeah, it didn't need to be high resolution.
No. But with more important topics and a much more serious debate, you actually would need to be careful.
If you're really trying to figure out something important, then yeah, that would be important. But like, an assumption is like what your beliefs are in regards to the topic.
Okay, so what would be an example?
An example would be that
because I know people will just think belief means things. Like we've actually seen this where someone had defined belief in a way that may not be conventionally defined.
Yeah, okay.
And I'm pretty sure even I have an unconventional definition of what belief is. I might not even have thought about it well enough, for example.
Yeah, okay, so I mean it's heavily linked to how people define stuff.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. It's just what are your unconscious or conscious definitions about stuff, right?
Yeah.
And they can be unconscious. Like
this also has to mean by like logical implication that you don't know what your beliefs are.
Yeah, well, at least not all of them. Yeah.
But yeah.
Or
it's
you
like,
have a low resolution understanding of your beliefs.
yeah.
Yeah.
So your like base assumptions, you just don't know.
Yeah. So it's worth examining what they are.
Exactly.
If they cause problems, at least.
Oh yeah, then it's very good to pay attention to that. I guess that would increase the importance, or like where on the, I guess the list of things to go through, you would put it at. So if it's causing problems, you put it kind of close to the top.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a good example of an assumption might be is that let me think of
It's a little tricky, isn't it? Because there's so many degrees of assumptions that you could get to.
Yeah,
We can pick something like some low-hanging fruit, for example.
Yeah.
Right. There are two kinds of people in the world. Real low-hanging fruit. Or there is things that are true and things that are untrue.
That's a good example, actually. Things that are true and untrue.
Well, I think it's a very common binary state that people get into.
Yeah, where the truth is it's a gradient.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess with the other model that we were just talking about, you really couldn't have those two binary states.
Yeah.
Not with any kind of usefulness. In fact, it would tend towards so many problems as a consequence.
Yeah. So that's a good underlying assumption that a lot of people have. True and untrue.
Yeah.
The truth of it is that it's a gradient of things that work and don't work.
Yeah.
And you don't even necessarily know why they work. They just do. Right?
Yeah.
So it's working enough. So it's relatively true.
They might work for the moment and just not in the next.
Yeah.
Because you don't understand how the pieces are working.
Yeah, so I guess examine your implicit assumptions about how stuff operates. So like look at how you've framed it, or like how you've arranged that information, or what you believe to be true in order for the other things to be true.
Yeah.
Like
so what kind of implicit beliefs would actually have to be there?
Yeah.
They kind of like with the sexism thing, where it's like because of watching that film, what would implicitly have to be true is that I have to treat women in a way that is unfair, based off of like their gender, because I have watched a film and therefore vicariously indoctrinated into a philosophy of mistreating women.
Yeah.
Through the consumption of media, but without realizing it.
Yeah. And so like if you look at it these are the assumptions, or they're not even necessarily assumptions of what the person believes. It's just what has to be true if that bit is true.
It's like media has to change
it's like
the way you treat women through just watching it, but in a way that's set.
Yeah, so it has to like work kind of like a thought virus, and then it has to work for you.
But it also has to work the same way across the board, meaning now everyone has to have the exact same internal reference points when they consume information.
Yeah.
So that's a good example of the implicit thing that would have to be true for the other things to work.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's relatively clear. But comment if it isn't. I'm not sure what is clear to people.
Well, yeah, because we obviously don't have your internal reference points.
Yeah.
And we talk a lot to each other.
Yeah, that's true as well.
So actually, yeah, it's not saying it's like, hey, I didn't actually get this. That's not a bad thing in this context. That would actually help it.
Yeah. And just to finish off, I want to focus on your experience with understanding that you are pretty much wrong about most things.
What's that like? It's
Look, I think you just have to accept it, but that doesn't have to be a bad thing.
No,
because it means that there is infinite incremental improvement as well.
I mean,
it's a goal. It's like it's a purpose.
I guess like it can go both ways, like infinite incremental improvement or infinite incremental spiral. And
that is true. I mean, and if you want proof of this, watch Chris Chan.
Yeah, watch Chris. There was someone that we saw online who just kind of the implicit rule she was following was that she was just right. Her initial assumption was correct, which led to a lot of like problems in comprehending new kinds of information.
Yeah. you can't not judge things. You can just judge things frequently enough that you become close to correct.
Yeah, so, and you can obviously revisit things.
Yeah.
It's not revisiting things is a great way to stuff up.
It is, yeah.
Always revisit topics.
Yeah.
You never bar yourself from that.
Like, if they're important to you, you definitely should.
Oh my god, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, this is not like a bad thing. Like, this is... It sounds unpleasant.
But
actually it's fucking great.
And this thing happens when you accept it. And that's that you feel hopeful. Because because if you accept that to be true, you also have to accept that you can improve things with your understanding.
That is true.
Yeah.
Like, that model has to equal, you can kind of always increase your resolution of understanding of things.
Yeah, which means if you can understand your resolution of things, you can operate better within the systems. You are a system, you operate within yourself.
Yeah.
The way you operate within yourself operates how you see yourself. That's as a cycle.
It's
and that's going to change how you operate within general systems, including your relationship, your job, your society. Although you can't change it practically, but you can do stuff about it.
Well, yeah, you can function different in society in a way that is better for yourself.
Yeah.
And potentially the people around you.
Yeah.
It's like you can just improve. It's not deterministic in a way where you have to have a spiral, or that because you technically don't understand base reality. That it's like you can just become less wrong over time.
Yeah.
By trying to have a higher resolution understanding. You don't have to go the other direction.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because if you understand what the issue is, you can then improve upon it.
Well, like, through understanding that principle in the first place, it's like, now you know you're fucking wrong.
And if you don't think that understanding things helps you, then, like, you're an idiot.
I mean, if you take that fucking route, like, you're stuffed.
If you know how to operate within systems, you can then operate the parameters of the system.
Yeah.
So this means yourself. It's like the way you relate to yourself is an understanding of yourself.
Yeah.
If you have implicit assumptions that, like, you're powerless, you can't change things, and that you're pointless, of course you're depressed. You've got those assumptions about yourself.
Well, yeah. So, and also, maybe, like, why would that be true?
Yeah,
like, why would those implicit assumptions be true? Because your base assumptions are probably, like, they're not...
Like, think about it critically.
Things are not fucking true implicitly.
Yeah. Like, which links back to everything that we've said.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you utilize those rules, then you can figure out why that is untrue. That doesn't make any technical sense.
Yeah.
Think about it properly, and you'll get to a better understanding, and then you'll be more hopeful.
Well, yeah, because realizing that you're wrong about something means that there is... Like, that's the first step to improving the thing.
Yeah.
Like, that's always the beginning part. Is like, oh, this does not work, or this does not hold up, or this model does not work.
Yeah, and it's a series of incremental improvements leading to something that is, like
larger over time.
Like, exponentially more pleasant.
Yeah.
To engage in, which is yourself. Just you feel okay about things is the point.
Yeah.
But also you can engage in systems better.
That's true. It would have to be like to point out something about, like, it's about feeling better about, like, even yourself.
Yeah.
It's not at the cost of accuracy. Because that's a really easy trap to fall into.
Yeah.
Because you can just do that and through your implicit assumptions.
If you're trying to feel better about yourself, without the pursuit of accuracy, then it's gonna work like a drug. Like, you can say shit about yourself.
Like, I'm great. Oh, we've seen a guy who's done this.
Well, that's what a lot of the spiritual movement's about.
Yeah, it is that. And look how functional they are.
Yeah, it's like I am love. I love myself, and it's like but you don't.
Yeah, you're getting into horrendous engagements and ignoring it
because you don't know what that means, because you never thought about it. And then if you think about it in stupid, like, nonsensical ways.
Here's an example.
And then you're going to repeat the same issues again and again and again until it wears down, like, the essence of your being.
We are all one. Love is everything. We are all love. Therefore, okay, where do you go from that?
Therefore, be nice to one another.
Yeah, you be nice to everyone, because and then they'll be nice to you. Because we're the same.
But they don't there won't, and we're not one. Obviously, not a hive mind.
Just in case, there is a tremendous lacking of evidence that we are a hive mind.
Yeah.
It would be safer to assume that we're not.
Yeah.
Based off of, like, if you look at the implicit, like, because it's a very extreme example, but an unfortunately very common one.
Yeah.
The implicit things are just like, it's like everyone has to be love, for example.
Yeah. What about people that do hateful things?
What about the rest of the emotions?
Yeah. Like, why is hate less valid than love? Because it's not less common. So why is it less valid?
No, yeah. Why is it based on validity?
Yeah.
It's like, wait a minute. Another thing that you could do that isn't the spiritual group thing is just to say that, like, you're a genius. Everything. We have seen someone play that pattern out.
It's a pretty similar thing, but rather than talking about emotion, they're talking about how you're thinking. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, but I was saying you're smart.
Yeah.
Or that, like, you're fine. Or that you feel okay.
Yeah.
Or everything's alright. There's no actual problems here.
Yeah. It's like, okay, so if you feel bad and there's no actual problems, then the problem is that you're feeling bad for no reason. That's a problem, and you should fix it.
Yeah.
And you should fix it by examining what your implicit assumptions are and then making them correct.
Well, wouldn't the fix just be that you're fine?
No. Like as correct as you can manage at the time, which is a circular process. It's going to update over time, and you'll get better and better as a result.
Well, yeah. Well, that's the whole point of like doing that pursuit through accuracy.
Yeah.
Like, the more accurate you become, the better you can achieve this in a way that is sustainable.
Yeah.
And that will not break your systems at, like, some random point in time that you won't be able to perceive, but that's because you will be ignoring the problems.
Yeah. Yeah, so
it would kind of but doing that is kind of like a drug. Like, it's a better kind of drug. I mean, like, okay.
It's like going to the gym.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like exercise. It is a health benefit.
It's like,
and you feel good about it.
It's like a lot of incremental improvements that are relatively painful, getting to a result that is very good.
Yeah,
and it's the same deal.
Yeah.
Anyway, if you found this useful, I would like to know if I should continue the series or not. I don't know how
it's going to be received.
Yeah, how much people want to know what I think about things,
or like the processes behind it, or the overarching philosophies.
Yeah.
It's useful though.
So even if it helps like a person,
if one fucking person wants to listen to this, I think I'll do it.
Yeah, it's probably still good for at least that guy or gal.
Or gal. Don't be sexist.
It is probably more likely that girls would listen to it because it's like the self-help genre and women are more into that.
Like, statistically, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so have a nice day.
See ya.